the Lord and Lindsay Nobles and Amy Brown and a whole office slew of, we call them if-turns. They are incredible. So we have such a great team behind the scenes that are working for you. They love you. We pray for you. We cannot believe how invested you are. It just blows us away every day. So I want to say first and foremost, thank you. It is absolutely incredible to look at that number rise every day. I will say for a few months there before Christmas, we were wondering if we could even do this event. And then we're watching all of you rally your people, and so many people are signing up and they're giving generously, and I think we're going to get there. It's just beautiful to watch. And you know what I love is that this is our thing. This is God's vision and dream, and He has put it into place through so many people and in so many different ways. And so I just want to say thank you for being part of that. I hope, and I think most of you do, that are involved at all, feel like it is your thing. It's so fun to read blogs and to see all of you talk about it online in such a personal way. That was always the dream. It was never that we would own a ministry or have it or possess it. In fact, that's why we set it up specifically as a nonprofit, that it wouldn't be owned by anybody, but it would be in a way just shepherded and owned by all of us. So I love that you're a part of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so there's a lot, I know that you're wondering. Some of you are tuning in and you're just thinking to yourself, you know, I might want to do this. I'm still confused. I do not know what If Gathering is. And so I wanted to, again, just do the big picture vision and tell you just a little bit about what we're about and what we hope for. So we exist to gather, equip, and unleash women around the world. And that takes a lot of different shapes, and one of those is, I think the primary thing we see ourselves is that we create tools for you to gather, equip, and unleash women. So we bring content your way through the If Gathering, through If Table, iftable.com, If Equip. We bring you tools, resources, content, amazing people, and then we give you tools like you're going to hear about tonight, this leader guide and all of these, you know, simple tools to go and lead your people in your home or your church. And so a lot of you are saying, you know what, I haven't been invited to one. I don't even know if there is one in my city. But you have a home and you could just throw up a little pin on the map. So we would love it if you tonight would just say, you know what, I'll take responsibility for my place. And the only requirements is that you're willing to take responsibility for your people in your place, one, and then two, that you are involved, engaged in your local church. So we believe in the local church. Our heart and goal is to come alongside of the local church and to provide these tools that hopefully grow leaders and make disciples. So that's a little bit about who we are, and what's coming up that's really big for us is our second gathering. And we'll gather about almost 2,000 people in Austin, Texas. And then the incredible thing is, you know, over 1,000 of you have signed up to host gatherings in your cities around the world. And so who knows how many people that will represent, but it's just beautiful. And then you can also watch it at home if you want, and we'll have the registration link up as well. So thanks so much for being part of this. So I wanted to, you know, this is the last time that we're going to be face-to-face until we gather in February. So I wanted to begin, before we get into all of these logistics, with what God is showing me. I go into the office, and there is so much work being done. And then I get onto the Facebook page, the If Local page, and all of you are doing so much work to build these little environments. And so I know that there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of fear, and I'll be the first to say that I wake up and realize how close it's getting, and I feel all those things too. But I was reading in Acts about Stephen, and it was right before he would be stoned, and he was a disciple in the early church. And it was so beautiful what he did. He was being persecuted and he was being questioned about Jesus and about the work that he was doing. And he goes on and he recounts the story of all of these amazing people throughout the history of actually the world, Israelite back pretty far, and he tells the story of all that God has done, and he remembers. And then he gets to the bottom and he's talking about the temples that were built, and he says, but the Most High God, he doesn't dwell in houses. This is Acts 7, verse 48. Made by hands. He doesn't dwell in houses made by hands. As the prophet says, heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house will you build for me, says the Lord? What kind of place will I rest? did not my hand make all these things? And then he's kind of harsh. He says, you stiff-necked people, uncircumcised in heart and ears, you always resist the Holy Spirit. And so I'm thinking about all this hard work that everybody is doing for If Gathering. We opened a shop, and it's really cute. It's got T-shirts and tools that you can use, and all of it's great. And a lot of people put a lot of work into that. But I want you to know that we don't think God dwells in any of the work of our hands. We think that he dwells in human hearts, and his resting place is not the things that we create with our hands. His resting place is the hearts of his people. And so my heart and vision is that we would come into this not with everything perfect, not with the perfect, signage and the perfect table decorations, and all of that is great, and I think God blesses it. And even on that note, I go back to the woman who poured out beautiful perfume on Jesus before he died. And there is something precious and sacred in these offerings that we're making and the work that we're doing. But he indwells human hearts. The uncircumcised hearts of man disappointed him, that they were full of disobedience. And so our biggest prayer for you and our greatest pursuit is that we would come into this with prepared hearts, that we would pray, that we would be right with God as much as it concerns us, that we would be confessing, that we would be deeply desiring him to move. And so I just pray that. I pray that for you. I pray that for myself. I pray that for our leadership team. When we talk on the phone, we are talking about people and the Spirit of God moving, and that is our hope and prayer, is that would happen. And we believe that the best way that can happen is that we are on our knees and we are unified as best as we can be, and that this remains about him and his glory. And so you can know that behind the scenes, as a staff who is busting their tail with a lot of things with human hands, they are also continually coming before the Lord and asking him to make all of our hearts right. So we pray that for you. And so I'm excited about tonight. I know a lot of you have a lot of really practical questions, and so the most perfect people to answer those are Amy Brown and Lindsay Nobles. So they're going to take over for a little while, and then I'll come back and we'll answer a few more questions at the end. So thanks. Wherever you're joining us from, I'm about to go get online, so let me know. I would love to know. Oh, Debbie. Did Debbie Eaton come?
I'm here.
You're here.
I'm here.
I'm so excited. Okay, we didn't think technology was preventing you from joining us.
I am like, okay. I am like, not like this was, I'm not going to say pissing me off.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Debbie, okay. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Debbie Eaton. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Debbie Eaton has been a part of this from the beginning. She is an incredible woman of God. She leads, hundreds, thousands of women in Southern California, and she is a mentor and friend to all of us. And so we wanted to bring her on because God has just been moving crazy through her in her if local experience in Southern California. So, Debbie, the devil was fighting you away, so you must have a good word for us. So tell us a little bit about what's been happening down in California with you.
It is just really, really exciting to see. There's like 15 different churches and women from all these different churches that are banding together. And I had a big dinner in August where I invited 30 women to my home that were all women leaders in our area from Corona, Riverside, San Diego, Orange County. 25 women came. And from that, we have done If Prayer. There are 3 churches that are probably doing If Local for the If Gathering. Several are coming to Austin to learn so that we can come back and mobilize more of the movement here in Southern California. Yesterday, I had the privilege of meeting with one of the churches. I had lunch with Carrie Miller, and then I actually had a phone call with the Mariners South that's hosting an If Local. And so to hear the excitement and just how everybody is working in unison, they're not competing with each other. They're actually saying, we want women to go where they're called to go, and we will minister to them where they go and where they come. And it's just really, really exciting to see so many different churches banding together, putting aside our differences, uniting in the power of Jesus.
Friend, well, I know you have taken a lot of bold moves in that you have just stepped out in faith. So why don't you just talk, and I know that if local leaders have your heart, you are always reaching out to them, even individually. And we haven't asked you to do that. You were just on it. And so this is your baby. This is your passion. Why don't you talk to them? Just a lot of them are listening right now. Talk to them, encourage them, tell them, what you see for them, what you believe for them.
Yeah. My heart and passion is for the local leader and the local woman. It's where we do our community, it's where we live, and it's where we make the biggest difference in life. And so I really believe that it doesn't, no matter where you go to the IF gathering, whether it's at your church or in a living room or at a Starbucks because you're sitting there drinking a cup of coffee and listening, the most important thing is that we as women are present with each other. And our presence means more than anything else. I had the privilege of leading a very large women's ministry. And the things I told leaders all the time was, remember, it's the people that matter. The details and all of those are important, but what women remember a year later are the encounters with the people they met. They remember the smile, they remember the hugs, they remember the person they cried with and they were listened to. And yes, I know tablecloths are pretty and candles and all of that, but if we're not present for people and we're not there and we're welcoming and loving, then we really aren't doing what Jesus did as he walked this earth. And so really it's about creating an environment that welcomes women in just the way they are, whoever they are. Everyone comes in with something. I have learned that there's not one perfect person that will walk in the room. But I do know that when they are welcomed, I love Romans 12 because it talks about love in action. And when we do the things that Romans 12 talks about, be in harmony with one another, love one another, respect one another, come alongside one another, put our differences aside, listen to one another, great things happen for the kingdom. And so my heart is that the local leader understands their influence and their presence matters so much, and that's what I love about IF. That's why I believe in IF, because it's about the influence that you and I have to one another.
Well, it's true. I think you and I have talked about this several times, but people will ask me, what is your favorite part about IF? And I said, hands down, it is meeting women face to face that have never used their gifts, that have never led in their communities before, and all of a sudden they think that they can and they're doing it, and God is moving through them. And I think they feel just like we feel, which is just kind of surprised and stunned that God would move through us. And so I'm excited to see that move even further this year. And so I guess my last thought with you, Debbie, would be specifically to speak to I've heard this over and over again, that there are a lot of older women that do not know if they should be at if this is a place for them. Would you just speak? I know you are not old, friend. You are not old, but
I am 50.
You're like our mama. You take care of us. And so talk just for a second to those women that maybe don't feel like this is for them. Talk about what you found here and what God's done with your life and even your age here.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
You know what? So God never cares about age. He cares about our heart. And we put that upon ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we confidently go in who God calls us to be, age doesn't matter. When we love well, when we can look in the face, whether it's a woman 10 years younger or 10 years older, and they see the genuine love, it builds bridges of hope with one another in unity. And so there's nothing more beautiful than watching younger and older women come in, have connection, and know that their lives were intertwined for a reason. And the wisdom that is passed between each is amazing. I always tell the gals that I disciple, God is reciprocal. As I am learning, you're learning, and I'm learning from you, and you're learning from me. And as long as we're learning in what the Lord's doing, just greater things happen.
Hey, Debbie Eden, is that your phone blowing up?
Oh, yes.
Texting you? You've got a lot of texts, girlfriend.
Texted. My Twitter's going off. I should have silenced my phone.
Hey, you are the best. We are so thankful for you. I just can't imagine it without you. So I can't wait to see you in a few weeks.
I can't wait. I just want to encourage every local leader out there to know you are making a difference.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well that is our heart, that it would be multi-generational. We're just praying for a lot of walls to fall down. We are praying that there wouldn't be barriers to anybody being part of this. And so if you, as leaders and people leading different groups in your homes and churches, just be brave, crazy, ask a diverse group to the table. And we're excited to see what's going to happen. And so right now, Lindsay Nobles, Amy Brown are taking over, and I'll be back in a little while to help answer questions.
Love you all.
Love you, Debbie.
Hey guys, Amy Brown,
Lindsay.
we are excited to be here tonight. We have hot off the presses our If Gathering resources for If Local this year. I'm tossing Jenny your phone to you. And I'm excited right now to introduce to you two of our If Local leaders. We have Erica Boutwell, who is last year just really inspired us in the If offices. Her and her team at 121 Church in the Dallas area really took kind of our If Local vision and completely ran with it without any sort of guidance or help from us. Really, they blew it out of the water. And so we're grateful to have her this year as an If Local coach. And then Allison Metzger, she is just a dear friend of ours here in Austin, Texas, and she hosted an If Local in her home. And so the idea behind having Allison and Erica here is that, Lindsay and I have never hosted an If Local for 2 days. So we want to have them on to share their expertise from both situations, from I'm hosting a home type perspective versus I'm hosting a larger gathering in a church or a venue. And so Lindsay and I are going to take a few moments to kind of walk you through some of these resources, but we really invite you to send in your questions. You can either post them in the If Local Facebook group or go onto Twitter and tweet at If Gathering. We've got people manning the social media, and will send us your questions. So we're excited to answer them and have Erica and Allison here to help you as well. So with that said, let's dive in. Okay, so shortly ago on ifgathering.tumblr.com, that's Tumblr with
No E.
We almost spelled Tumblr now because of that URL. You can find the following resources. First is one that we posted actually in December. This is Beautiful If Leaders Guide. And the whole premise behind this is that if you are hosting anything If Gathering related, these principles and these values and these tools apply. And so this is really kind of like our who we are. And so this is to guide you generally as a leader. Then today we posted the If 2015 event guide. This is information specific just to If Gathering 2015. So this changes from year to year, but this is kind of the secret info that everyone has been looking for. So we'll get into that. Then we have the conversation cards for If 2015, posted and ready to go. And lastly, our attendee guide. So kind of what we've said is here is information that you can put in the hands of your attendees, and will help kind of guide their weekend together. And so we're going to be posting after this some more information on kind of how best to print this attendee guide, but it is there for your personal viewing. So where we want to camp out for the next little while is in this if event guide. Inside you'll find a little thank you note to you guys for being the best ever. You will find a schedule providing different chunks of time throughout each session and kind of what that time will be used for, whether it's worship, a story, teaching, discussion, and so that's how we kind of provided that.
And I just want y'all to know that we really are holding the tension of, like trying to give y'all as much information that we can, specifically with the schedule, and then allowing room for, the Holy Spirit to move. And so just want to go ahead, I think it's laid out too in the guide, but just try to have grace and patience with us as if there are changes that come between now and the event, and then also during the event if we can't stick right to it, because we are feeling that it's a tension we have to hold carefully of getting you what you need so you can host an event that runs flawlessly, and also just allowing room.
Yeah, allowing room for the Spirit to move and lead. One of my favorite stories actually that I heard from a local leader last year was on their name tags, like all the hosts put I have the same questions as you do. They're basically like, listen, I'm going to do my best to help, but at the same time, we're going to hold it loosely. And so we just really encourage you that even though you have all this information to take the same approach. Like Allison or Erica, I don't know if y'all have anything to kind of contribute to that.
Allison?
Well, yeah, I just think the neat thing about hosting in a home was that you don't have a million eyes watching to make sure the program goes perfectly. Yeah. But on the flip side, there are people to some extent. And so, when you have technical difficulties, they all know who to look at. And but yeah, I think people are going to come with an expectation or we hope that they come with an expectation that this is all of the whole thing is sort of a work in progress, and we're all, there are going to be issues no matter how well it's planned, and that's okay, and we just rolled with it. And at the end of the day, I loved what Debbie said. They didn't remember, the few minutes that the audio went out for a minute. They remembered the hugs and the conversation and, seeing God move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Literally, we were on a programming call this afternoon, and one of the programming guys was like, okay, help us understand what the priority is here. And Amy and I both were like, it's F local. I mean, it is not, making sure that, y'all are the priority. You're the biggest number of people, and everything we do is to create rich experiences for you. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are two pieces, the schedule, that we kind of want to address beforehand, and that is related to worship and to confession. So first, with worship, I know that this was actually kind of the reason why we wanted to provide further information this year, was so that if you are a church who had a worship leader, you could provide the opportunity for them to actually lead. And so we have in here specifically advice. In the top half is if you are following along with our worship, kind of how best to set the mood and the ambiance of that. And then at the bottom, you'll see if you're providing, your own local worship and some advice to pass along to your worship leaders. We have posted our worship set list from 2014. Our 2015 worship set list is still in process, and so we plan on passing along that information to you as soon as that is solidified. But we wanted to at least provide that with you to inspire you. And ultimately, at the end of the day, our values are kind of participation and unity and diversity. And so, if songs that you're used to singing or that your local area is used to singing, we trust, your worship leaders to facilitate that. Lastly, I'll draw your attention to there's going to be a couple times where we'll use worship in a very brief moment for maybe 1 or 2 songs as a bit of a transition. And so it may be logistically very difficult to get a band up there and off and transition well with our content. So we really invite you to participate with our worship. We're super excited. We're going to have outstanding worship leaders and music and production again this year. And we heard outstanding feedback after last year that people were really able to worship despite singing to a computer screen, which can be slightly awkward at times, or to a television. So, and we really invite you to participate in that. And then with confession, during the second session, Shelly Giglio and some of the members of our leadership team are going to be leading us in an intentional time of confession. And we're really excited about that. We're excited about the leadership that they're going to provide through that. And we just invite you as facilitators and as hosts to just kind of pursue these 3 things. 1, create a safe space for people to confess that's peaceful, to be sensitive to what's going on around you, potentially consider, having your strongest leaders distributed throughout the room as opposed to congregating together, and just keeping in mind just who's attending your gathering. And then lastly, just pray for that time, and specifically as you prepare your hearts. We just think it's going to be a great moment for everyone to, as we talk about faith, to confess, areas where we have a hard time believing. So those are 2 areas that we've specifically kind of laid out unique content for you to prepare for. Next, I want to move to the live stream. Live stream has been a place of a lot of questions as of late. So you'll see some information here kind of about what's to come. I want to tackle 2 of those questions. Okay. One is about archiving. And what happens when, we've got East Coast, we've got West Coast, people starting on delays. We archive a session. We stop the recording that we're doing after a session ends. And when that happens, if you are watching that session, you are going to get kicked off the live stream. There's really kind of no way to avoid that, but what you can do to prepare is have the archive available on another tab, so you can switch from the live stream to the archive video. And it'll take a moment of disruption, so just prepare for that and prepare your people for that. But I have spoken with livestream.com, and who's going to be providing our technology, and they've said that archive video will be available immediately, and we'll be watching that as a production team, and if for any reason it isn't available immediately, we'll fix that. So something that we've have our eye on this year, that's feedback we received last year, and we're going to ensure that transition happens really smoothly for our local gatherings. If local hosts, y'all have any words of wisdom about that?
We, at 121, we are doing ours kind of conference style all together, and we have intentionally timed out our schedule so that we start our first session well after you guys have ended your first session. So the hope is that we'll never kind of get stuck in the middle of a live session like what you're talking about. So if timing-wise that works for you, that probably will prevent a lot of technical difficulty potential in that area, because you'll just be watching archived sessions and you don't even have to worry about live streaming.
Yeah, that's definitely one tactic to take. And, I think especially with the larger groups who are trying to incorporate live worship and all that stuff, you're going to see how long the speaker goes. You're gonna be able to, on another computer or whatever, be able to predict and see where we're going. So I think that's really wise for those larger gatherings.
Amy, I'd just add one thing about the worship component of it. If you're meeting in a home, just to back up a little bit, there's maybe a temptation, I don't know if anybody else feels it, but there's maybe a temptation to fast forward through that or skip it, because again, you're all huddled around a TV, hopefully a larger one, but don't, because those were some of our best moments. And we're all kind of on couches and chairs in the living room, and the TV's going, and we cranked it up about as loud as we could. And it was great. It was just as good as I think it could have been in a larger environment. So don't let the fear of this might be awkward keep people from doing that.
So good. Cool. That's great advice. So we're going to move to kind of social media.
Awesome.
And this year we want to hear from you. So a part of that is going to be every session we're going to post a big question. It'll appear right there on the live stream, like as a banner as you're watching, and so you'll be able to see that even when your screen is enlarged and taking over the whole computer. And so we just really encourage you to tweet in your answers, post them on Facebook. If you use an image, we talked about kind of supplies to provide and how to do it that way. And we really encourage everyone to participate with us. At Austin, you want to talk about, how we're going to bring in everyone together?
I think, we just are really this year want to be cognizant of the fact that it's not about 2,000 people in a room in Austin, but it really is about all of you all over the world. And so every time we can, we want to sort of cut out to different, if local venues, and highlight some of the people that are around the world watching with us. And the social media, although it can feel potentially a little contrived or awkward to be tweeting about sort of some of the spiritual things you're experiencing, the reason why we want to do it is it creates a large conversation, and we can see sort of all the faces that are participating.
Yeah.
And so that is our hope in it, just for us to see each other and have a moment to be like, oh, like, look at this woman in Uganda that is and what her fear is, or what is holding her back, and it's the same thing that's holding me back. So
yeah,
I just wanted y'all to kind of hear our hurt in that, and
Absolutely.
that it's not, like to trend, it's so
Right.
that we see the big picture.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I can say personally that there's been, in the last year, like, it's been powerful, and it's been really meaningful to see, us in this together as women, as a generation, and so
Yeah.
hopefully that's the goal, that we'll all get to kind of catch a glimpse of that. As hosts, we love to document that your gathering happened and incorporate you in gathering going forward. And so we have a little opportunity here for you to participate in that, and with some instructions on how to just get us photos and any video from your gathering, so that we can know who you are and share that with the world.
Think compilation video, like wedding rehearsals.
Inspirational music
Yes.
and your faces. Exactly. Next, Lindsay's going to talk about Feed the Children and our opportunity this gathering to really come alongside a great organization.
Yeah, so this year we're partnering with Feed the Children. They have been a great partner to us, and one of the fun things about some of the work they do is that it's focused here in the United States. I think a lot of times we send money overseas. I know I have several sponsor kids, and I love them, but I think it's important for us to remember that we have neighbors down the street that sometimes are struggling to provide meals for their kids every day. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and there'll be an opportunity for you all to get involved and see the work that they're doing. So that'll be neat.
Yep, you'll find that in the 4th session. So, we've really done the work for you, and we hope to band together to tackle this issue. Let's also talk about the marketplace.
The marketplace.
Yes, this is a fun thing that we're offering. If you came to Boston last year, probably stopped by our marketplace, saw a couple of our favorite organizations and their products, but this year we're taking it online.
This year we really wanted to have those partners like be featured in a way that y'all could interact with them as well. So we're going to create like an online catalog, which will be available on the live stream page, and it will highlight some curated lines from some organizations that we love, like Noonday and Raven and Lily, and just some other items that you can shop and there'll be some discount codes and just different ways that you can engage with some organizations that we love. So we really kind of try to build these partnerships with you in mind this year, and that you could really access the goodies that they had brought to us in last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple other headers in here that I'm sure will provide you with some great information. And the one thing I like to say about the shop, if there's
Shop,
we call it in the office, just to poke fun at ourselves, is that the experience kit is available for download finally. So for $10, you can go and get some if-branded materials and signage for your local gatherings that we're pretty excited about.
Jen Sprinkle did a great job with that. And
Thank you,
really
Jen
fun
Sprinkle.
way for us to support a partner that we love. That she's the person that did those beautiful foil verses.
Yeah, foil
and
prints.
So
Yeah.
check it out.
Check it out. So Erica and Allison, if y'all don't have anything else to contribute at this moment, any other thoughts to share, I'm going to go to questions and get everyone's advice on some of your great questions.
I say go to questions.
Questions? Do y'all have any questions, Erica?
Yeah.
Allison, from us, from what we shared so far?
Not that I can think of.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so Andrea, Raquel, I'm not really sure. Is there anything happening during the 2-hour meal breaks? And do I understand correctly that conversation breaks are during the 3-hour sessions?
So eating will be happening during the meal breaks. And the other thing, we hope that both at dinner on Friday night, if y'all have a dinner break, and then also at lunch, that is a time for y'all to really spend with I'm going to try this again. With one another and really hear each other's stories. And the conversation cards, say you take your dinner break after session 1, like we'll be doing in Austin, there are more conversation cards for session 1 that you could possibly get to just in the break time. And so there definitely would be the opportunity to take those with you to dinner and to lunch on Saturday and sort of explore some of those, to have really intentional conversation.
Yep.
So that's really our only hope with those 2-hour breaks, is that you have really intentional conversation about it.
Yep, and we have on each of these cards a number, so it's 1 through 4. You're going to have local hosts on the live stream who are providing clear instructions throughout the whole gathering. So if you don't remember this or it gets confusing, they're there as your help and your co-hosts. So really rely on them. But yeah, take these to dinner with you over those 2 breaks and utilize additional time for conversation.
I think one thing we'll be doing again this year that we did last year is on If Local, there will be some small groups that you can watch kind of them processing through those conversation cards.
Yep, absolutely.
So.
Don't encourage groups to watch.
Yeah.
But that we create those for the people that are watching by themselves. And so that you can watch them in your free time. But as a group, I would intentionally delve in and have people answer the questions.
Yeah. Any thoughts now? Okay. I feel like I've addressed some of these questions, which makes me feel good. If we are hosting after the actual event, will our registration page still be active for people to register? This is a great question from Brenda DeWalt. We are planning on gathering as leaders on the 6th and 7th in small gatherings, and then we'll host our larger gathering on the 27th and 28th. Any suggestions? Okay, so this is awesome. We are excited to share with you that our registration system is something that's going to live on year-round. Once a gathering dates have passed, those locals will go away. But as a host organizer, you can use that registration system, and when you donate, and I'll get into this, at different levels, you can essentially unlock the registration or the digital download card. So, and we'll have for you in your autoresponder all the resources that we've been putting out all fall and winter that everyone's waited so patiently for. Will be very neatly organized in that autoresponder email. So for those of you who are maybe watching on your own February 7th and 8th, or 6th and 7th, or you're coming to Austin, or like Brenda, gathering as a leadership team, you're going to be able to take this If Local experience and have it year-round, whether you do it as a 2-day gathering or a 4-week study or an 8-week study. You'll see from us immediately after the gathering better resources for you to really navigate how to break up the content, how to use the conversation cards, and how to continue to use this content to gather, equip, and unleash women in your local context. So we're really excited about that, and just look for more specific information from us on that in the coming weeks.
I see a question for Andrea about how y'all get through all of the content if you start after the first session is archived. What does y'all schedule look like?
Ours, so we will start our first session about 7 or 7:15 on Friday night, and so we will only do one session Friday evening, and then we will do 3 on Saturday. So we'll start again on Saturday morning at 9 and go till 11:30 or 12, and then we'll have a lunch break, and then we've actually carved out about an hour and a half from 12:30 to 2 where we'll do a service project together, and then from 2 to 5 is when we'll do y'all's session 3, and then we don't have a Saturday evening service, so that frees up our Saturday evening to go well into the evening, and so after dinner at about 6:30 is when we'll start the last session. So rather than starting at 2 on Friday and ending at 5 on Saturday, we're starting at 7 on Friday and ending probably about 9:30 on Saturday.
That's awesome. I love the service project idea too. That's really
Yeah, we're excited.
That's great. Yeah, so a lot of folks are, I'm a working woman. It would be really hard for me to take off, a day or half day to come to If Gathering. So a lot of people are starting after work hours, which is awesome, and I love that. And I think Erica just walked through a great scenario for how to kind of fit 12 hours of content into 2 days. I would encourage, if you're doing that as well, if you wouldn't mind going on the If Local Facebook group right now and sharing your schedule. I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out exactly when those time windows are, how they're doing it, but I think that one of the ways that you can really condense the content down is by shortening dinner breaks or having dinner during the beginning of the second session and like eating while you're watching. I would not encourage skipping a session or watching the sessions in different orders than we've outlined. They really build on top of each other.
Or not doing the conversation, having any sort of break either.
Yeah, don't not have conversation breaks. That's just
a lot of content, and part of the beauty of it is really processing through it together. And so I think really there's a tendency to think, oh, we'll just do that all at the end and have people do that in their small groups. It never happens.
It never, ever happens.
You got to do it right when you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are some ideas. You could shorten worship by a song, or there's some time-saving ideas in there. But as you heard from Allison, it's hard to find places to cut, and you'll see there's a lot of content that we're trying to get in those 2 days. So the good news is that the content will be live online all weekend. If for some reason people can't continue on with you, you can share that with them to continue watching, and then obviously the digital download will be available. And for actual download, you can pre-order it, but on February 16th, kind of that Monday following the gathering, files will go online, so you can then continue to host If Local gatherings at any point after February 16th. So just to clarify that, that's been a question.
Scrolling through the questions, it looked like there's a lot of questions around like just the timing of the schedule and the archiving. And I'd encourage y'all to, the If Local coaches really are the experts at this. I mean, they all did events last year, they're all doing it maybe a little bit differently, and so you can really look at 10 people's schedules as they lay out what they're doing, and so they'll be the best resource. There are just so many different ways to do it, and it really is figuring out what is best for you and your group.
Yeah, I completely echo that, for sure.
There was one question that I saw not about that was about just the diversity of speakers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that is something that's on our mind, and we definitely want to showcase a broad range of views and people. And so it is something that we're still working on, and we'll continue to add. There are people beyond maybe listed in the attendee guide that will be there and participating and on stage and speaking and things. So I
would just echo Lindsay and say that this is not representative of everyone that's going to be on stage. We try and keep some things a secret around here.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while. So
it's not a very popular.
It's not a popular move on our part, but it's something that's important to us because we don't. Our hope is that you don't tune in for one speaker, but that you're there for the whole time. So Erica and Allison, I don't know if you all have anything you want to contribute to that. But I would also, sorry, I'm going to throw in one more thing about the attendee guide. You'll see that there is like a dotted page, and that's for note-taking. So it's something that you can copy and paste and replicate time and time again so that you can make it as long or as short as you need it to be. We really tried to keep it pretty vanilla. You'll see like on the schedule page, you can add in your own times and dates for everything so that it's customizable for you. But obviously the thing that people want to see is be guided through our speakers and where to find them and stuff like that. So you can find some of that in here. We want to invite back up Jenny, I guess.
Stay. Well, y'all stay. Just stay.
Okay.
I'll sit on that
awkward
stool.
bench again.
Yeah. Awkward stool. Okay. So one of the questions, that was pretty fun. I was actually having way more fun over there because the Facebook group, you're blowing it up. I think there's over 70 comments on one little question I asked in a minute. No, it's all fun. They're telling us where they are. They're being so lovely. You're so lovely on that page. Okay, so one of the things that I heard several times that I'm particularly sensitive to is the confession. So last year, if you were part of it, you know that we did some brave things. We prayed, wow, and then and it was beautiful all around the world, and then we also took communion. And this year, we really felt called, as the theme of the year is really about faith and about believing God, that we wanted to take some time to pray again and to reflect and to process where we aren't believing God, and so we wanted to build in a time of confession. And so with that time, you know, if you were part of junior high youth group and you ever went to a junior high retreat and you ever had an open mic time, it was a little bit messy, a little bit dramatic, and you may have been saved, you know, every year for a while. And we're not really, I know, I did. I cried and we did that open mic. I couldn't talk because I was crying so hard. You know.
I know.
You can envision it. Okay, so we are not wanting to make this just, you know, this huge display of emotionalism. We are wanting this to just be an affirmation. And some of you are even going to do that session in the morning, and you're nervous about it because you're thinking, how's that even going to go? Is this going to be awkward? Let me just tell you, we put Shelly Giglio in charge of that session and in charge of that time. And I mean, if you know Shelly at all, she is so spirit-filled, so spirit-led, but she is also matter-of-fact and just handles the situation beautifully. And she has really prayed and sought God on how to lead that time. And we were just on the phone with her the other day, and she told us how it's going to go. And we were both just, well, I mean, I had tears and chills. I know you probably did.
I was really excited about it.
Okay. See, this is why we have a team, because we're all so different. So I was teary, and Shelly Giglio is going to lead that time. So you don't have to feel pressure about that, and I promise you it will be perfectly appropriate for your morning session, your afternoon session, wherever you put it. This isn't about getting some big reaction. This is about obedience. This is about us getting right before God and honest before God. And of course, some people are going to bawl their eyes out. I would be that girl. And let me just say this, that's okay, and that's great. but we aren't trying to manipulate anything. It's going to be really simple and really clear and really well led. And so as far as the confession part, don't worry about when you're doing that. And as far as setting the tone, several of you asked that question as well. We would just be sensitive to the people in the room. My biggest fear with that time is that somebody would share something that they have never shared before and that they wouldn't be cared for well in that. So just have leaders, as Amy talked about earlier, around the room, people that you trust, and prepare them just to, if anything, during the whole weekend gets shared that you think needs follow-up, put those leaders in charge of following up. Have Christian counselors' names that could serve as aids for some severe things that maybe will get shared as well. So that's just a good general rule in leading small groups. But as we head into that time, don't worry, don't be afraid, just pray. Pray that, and then be honest, vulnerable yourself too, as we all just get honest about what we've doubted about God. So the other thing that I want to talk about, you probably have a few more things and then we'll be done, is if equipped. So we announced, I believe yesterday or the day before, that we're going to study Joshua in preparation for that. You know what I love is that our vision is that you would unpack the word yourself, that you wouldn't come into that weekend just waiting for all these amazing teachers to unpack the word, but that you would be unpacking it yourself. Because you know what? The comment section at If Equipped is, it's absolutely incredible. You all are so wise, and you see truths in there that are so beautiful. And so we wanted to give you time to do that before you get to February 6th and 7th. So if you can let your people know, send out the If Equip and say, hey, this is a great thing to follow along with. It's so simple if you've never done it. In fact, a lot of you have never done it. I heard the other day that of our major list for If Gathering and our major list for If Equip, which are similar in size, there's only 4,000 crossover. So a lot of you are not a part of that. Let me just tell you that this is the perfect time to jump in and to be a part of that and to prepare for February 6th and 7th. So those are my two things.
Homework.
Like that. It's not homework, Lindsay. It's a preparing.
No, I was excited. I like homework.
Lindsay likes homework. I hate homework. I would never do it if you told me it was homework.
Lindsay likes homework. Tweet that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
I want to take 2 minutes just to help with the live stream. I feel like it's really confusing. It's not as confusing as you think until you do it. So I want to encourage you in that. But here's the deal. So let's say Lindsay's hosting an F Local, and all of her ladies show up at 2, but they get to talking and they start at like 2:30. You're gonna receive the live stream link 24 hours in advance. You've had that. You've tested your internet. You're good to go. You're gonna go to that live stream page and you're gonna click play, and the marker is gonna be like a little bit out,
just like it does on YouTube.
Just like it does on
where
YouTube.
It's like you see.
Yep. And you just drag it back, and you just start with us right at the beginning of the session. Now, you could, about 20 minutes right before the end of that session, get kicked off because we just ended that session and you were a little bit behind us. And when that happens, there's going to be a clear link on that live stream page straight to the archive videos. You just got to reload that again. It takes just a minute, and then drag that cursor back over to where you're at that last 20-minute mark, okay? If you were to start at 3 hours after we started, at like 5 or later, you're going to go straight to the archive sessions, and you're going to find the video for session 1 and start playing it from the beginning like a recorded video. Say you catch up, you fly through a couple of worship songs, and you get caught up with us in session 2, you're going to go back to the live stream page and start with us there and drag the cursor back to the beginning and start with us starting in session 2. So it's kind of a little bit, you're going to have to play between archive sessions and live stream, but you can jump in from 2 to 5 at any point in time and start from the beginning, or start after 5 o'clock Central Time and start with an archive video. So I hope that helps, and I'm obviously around to help continue to provide clarification. Yeah. Go to livestream.com. Try one out, test it, see how it goes. We're not reinventing the wheel there. There's a million different resources out there to try it yourself. So.
And they all know where to email if there's confusion.
Oh yeah, connect@ifgathering.com is the best place for you if local leaders to email, and we're doing our best to get back to you in a timely response, especially when you have unique situations that you need unique guidance on. Really, the If Local group is for idea sharing and
So the
Yeah,
best
big
place
question.
to check first before they email is, because we are all drowning a bit.
ifgathering.tumblr.com. There are snippets of resources and information for you to get there. We'll follow up tomorrow with an email with all these resources linked and all those things. But when we get a question, it's like, okay, we got to clarify this for everyone. The first place it goes is ifgathering.tumblr.com. So check it out there.
All right, and the Facebook page has so many questions documented. You can put it in the search bar at the top
Search
right.
bar.
Clutch. That way
And
the
the If
questions don't
local
get
coaches are doing a great job.
Yes.
And they're so good at fielding questions about ideas. Like,
Dreaming
I'm thinking about
ideas.
doing it this way. What do you recommend that?
Totally.
That's a great place for the Facebook group.
Yeah. Guys, we are so excited. I mean,
We are so excited.
it's like the Super Bowl is coming, but it's like our Super Bowl, and I'm so
We should
pumped.
get jerseys.
We should get jerseys.
Let's do that.
We'll talk to Joy and Annie. They'll probably help us with that.
I just think that it's going to be so much fun because last year there was so much pressure, and some of you are so nervous. Can you even imagine? We were just dying. We were about to put it on live. We had no idea if anything would work. We had
I
no
cried.
idea what anyone was
First
doing.
hour.
I've never been
Wow.
so nervous in all of my life, and yet God showed up and blew us away. So my goal this year is to have a blast and to enjoy it so much and just to take it in, because I think it's so beautiful that we get to be a part of this, and I don't want to miss it because we're all anxious and nervous. So I pray the same for you guys that are leaders, that you would just have fun. And all the if turns are like, we will not be having fun at all. We will be so stressed. They're back here stressing to make sure this works. So anyway, I pray that for all of us, that this would just be us enjoying the Word of God. So what else? Anything else?
What's that?
You
Y'all are
guys,
the best.
Debbie, Allison,
You and
Erica, anything else?
Wait it
I
out.
just would love to encourage those who are leading in the larger settings. I tell Amy all the time that I keep waiting to get that email or that phone call where they tell us we've taken it too far when it comes to making it our own. But they just keep encouraging us to just run with it, to run with the resources that you've been given, to run with the personalities of the women in your church and the leadership that the Lord gives you. And so know that you just really can't take it too far when it comes to making If Gathering your own in your own local setting, whether it's doing your worship live, doing everything in a large setting, doing everything in small groups, whatever that looks like. Don't be afraid, just to run with it and be brave.
Awesome.
Debbie, you gotta have a wise word. I always come to you for my words of wisdom.
I would say enjoy the moments. Enjoy the moments leading up to this, because you're going to watch God do miracles. Enjoy the divine appointments God puts in your path as you prepare. But also, just remember, God is doing something far greater than us. And enjoy the moments, embrace the women that come, and know the ripple effect that your obedience to this, you will never see on this side of heaven, but God is smiling.
Thanks, Debbie.
Beautiful.
Okay, I think we should close in prayer. Yes?
Yes.
Is Allison gonna pray?
Oh, Allison, will you
Pray for us.
I love you.
That's a lot of pressure, guys. Okay, yeah, I will. I'll pray. Okay, Lord, we just come before you, and we are excited. It is the Super Bowl, but it's your game, and we're just players, and we're so excited to be a part of it. Lord, I just pray that you would continue to guide all of these local gatherings, Lord, from the biggest one that happens to the tiniest gathering in a home. Lord, I just know that you are seeing your daughters gather, and that makes you so glad. And Lord, I just pray that we're able to really seek you and to see you move. Lord, I pray that you would be tearing down those walls, Lord, as we lead up to the weeks, Lord. And then we just ask that you move mightily that weekend, Lord. I pray for the speakers, Lord. I pray for the team that's doing the work in the Austin office, Lord. And then I just pray that that every single woman who thinks they need to be a part of this, or that there wouldn't be things that would hold them back, Lord, that not that we believe that we're enough, but that we know you are, and then that's enough. And we're just excited to step out in faith and see what you're going to do, because you never disappoint us when we're obedient, and we beg you to show us who you are. So we just give all this up to you, and we thank you most for your Son, Lord, and we just pray that you would show us more of who he is. It's in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. You're our team, and we will be watching glued. In fact, every time I'm off stage, I will be scrolling through, looking at what's happening where you are. Just know that if Austin is with you and praying for you, and really just locked and loaded on what God is going to do in all of your towns and all over the world. So we're thankful for you. Bye. See you soon. See you in weeks.